This is my backlog. This is not just the games I'm collecting, but also the games I keep telling myself I'm gonna play someday. Instead of feeling guilty, I've sat down and worked out a way of how to deal with it without making the gaming feel like it's work. This is my quest to defeat my backlog. The first thing I did was I looked at my collection. I wrote everything down and I considered what games I want to play and what games I'm happy to keep as collection pieces. Then I asked myself, do I really want to play this game? After writing down my list, what I did was, well, I looked at howlongtobeat.com. Now this is a pretty good visualization of how long a game takes to beat in terms of an average. We all know titles such as Trails are all 100-hour long games, but How Long to Beat and sometimes Reddit often gives you a bit more of an idea and a little bit more feedback on terms of how long it would take. Now I do take this with a little bit of a grain of salt simply because, well, everybody's different, and I do tend to find How Long to Beat often goes on the lower end of the scale. This is sometimes people who just skip cutscenes or don't necessarily do everything or straight up lie about how long it took them. I have found over the years that about 10% difference. I might be a little bit slower than the average person, I might play things a little bit different, I might miss things and have to come back, but I think 10%, give or take, tends to be the sweet spot. Now, I'm going to avoid trophies where possible, depending on the game. For example, games like Yakuza 0 I absolutely love, but getting those trophies, that 100%, is a huge extra commitment. For example, stuff like Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5, that is possibly about a 15-hour game if you go from start to finish. However, it is bloated to about 20 to 25 hours if you go around to doing everything else. Another 10 hours onto a game is another full game, and this is especially true with some JRPGs. Yakuza 0 is possibly about a 30-hour game, however, it is definitely padded out to significant more times should you want to get that 100%. Now this isn't going to be true for every game. For example, Death Stranding. Death Stranding was a game that I absolutely took joy in doing all of the deliveries. I could have skipped from 100 hours all the way down to 30 to 40 hours if I just went and did the main missions. But if I'm honest, the main missions themselves was not what I got away from the game. I loved the deliveries. I didn't really appreciate the main stories. I'm also not really feeling much when I'm getting that 100%. For some games like Yakuza Like a Dragon, I was really appreciative of it. Other titles, again, we go back to Spider-Man, we look at stuff like Ghost of Tsushima. I kind of felt that my enjoyment of the game had waned well before I did that 100%. So moving forwards, I'm going to look at trophies as a possibility, not something I'm going to strive for. What I want to do as well is balance things. We all know titles such as Dragon Quest are long, JRPGs are long, open world games are long, and if I've got a game that is maybe 60 or 70 hours, even 30 to 40, after that I'm going to take a break. I'm not going to jump from JRPG to JRPG, I'm going to play some other games. For example, titles such as Victory Heat Rally and Shantae. These are both titles that you can probably finish in a weekend, in a few hours, or you can just pick up and play, have a little bit of fun while picking your next big game. I think that's going to help with a lot of the burnout. I think when I am a gamer who plays a lot of JRPGs, I think jumping from Dragon Quest to Trails to Yakuza is not going to work too well. At this point, I'm also going to mention stuff like, A-Train or Roller Coaster Tycoon or Big Pharma, like these more like arcadey kind of ones. I think, you can kind of play a level of 2 of these and kind of have that count as a little bit of a palate cleanser. I don't want to get in and just kind of be like, oh, Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic, that's another 200-hour game, when realistically, you can dip into this, do a scenario, stop playing at any point. Another way I'm going to break up things is how I handle my retro game collection. Now, because I have so many consoles, because I have so many new games, I tend to favour playing new games. So what I'm going to do, every month I'm going to spend a day, maybe 2 days, maybe a weekend on playing retro games. Because let's face it, stuff like Wave Race 64, Star Wars Battle for Naboo, I've bought these and put them into my collection, and I love having a collection. But there's titles, Do with Attitude, FIFA 98, all of the sports games on the N64, a lot of fighting games. I might get half an hour to an hour's joy out of them. So, while I'm not going to see I need to beat all of these games, I'm going to ensure I get enough enjoyment out of these games to ensure my collection isn't just a visual piece. It's something I'm also actively working on playing through. There are so many hidden gems, there are so many games that just got overlooked over the years. I want to find them and share them with you guys. Now, one of the big key things that I have noticed is actually getting time to play on a night. Usually I come in, I start editing videos, I record videos. I don't really have time during the week to actually play stuff. So that means titles such as Expedition, where I've got to, boot up the PS5 and, sink some hours into that. That's not necessarily going to happen. That's going to put that game on the back burner. But fortunately, I do focus on consoles that work around that. While I might not have the energy to sit in front of a big TV and play games, I could probably scrape by half an hour to an hour playing games in bed. And that's where we get the Nintendo Switch. So what I'm going to do, if I'm playing a big game like Expedition, that's going to take a few months to get through, I'm going to play on the Switch on a night to get through some of those smaller games. And at the end of the day, it's just about having fun. So using these 5 steps, I'm hoping that this is going to make me enjoy my backlog even more. And the big thing for me is that, let's face it, I'm a collector. I love having these things on shelves. I also love playing the games. But I'm not going to stress too much about them. I'm not going to turn this into a job. While I'm logging stuff down, I'm not going to reflect and just be like, oh, I haven't beat Dragon Quest 3. No, there'll be another year I can beat Dragon Quest 3. I'm going to take a relaxed approach. I'm going to enjoy the games as they come. I'm going to enjoy the backlog, and I'm going to enjoy tackling it. This isn't something that needs to be destroyed. It's not something that I need to beat and then forget about entirely. This is something that's going to be ongoing, and it's something I want to get as much enjoyment out of as possible. It's not just about beating the games. It's about enjoying the journey with these games. At least that's what I think anyway.